Jacki Ramsey, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Glad to have you on today and be able to share your story with the audience because it's quite a storied history that you have with all the things that you've done and accomplished. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I guess, yeah, looking back, it's feels like I've had a few different lifetimes.
right, exactly. Let me give the audience a brief intro for you
Okay.
so they can get a feel for who you are. You are a designer, a photographer, entrepreneur, and a producer. You're the founder and president of Wood Sprite Organic Body, the creator of the brand and the driving force behind its mission. You pioneered the brand in 1999, where you began crafting truly natural skincare and body products in your apartment kitchen in response to your own chemical sensitivities, long before clean beauty became mainstream.
Yes.
You're committed to 100% purity and sustainability for over 25 years, and you insist on using only certified organic herbs, pure essential oils, cold pressed fruit, and nut oils, avoiding synthetics and fillers. Everything you do is handmade, small batch production, from soaps to soy aromatherapy candles, are lovingly handmade from scratch daily, ensuring quality and integrity. And you have a consistent environmental ethos where you refuse offers to sell to large chains that would compromise purity, emphasize recycled packaging, reuse, and minimizing the ecological impact is part of your mission with Wood Sprite.
Yeah,
A
pretty
truly,
much.
truly organic business.
Yeah, it started organically, it grew organically, and yeah, yeah, it's pretty much true. I mean, wherever I can use certified organic ingredients, I do. Some are still not obtainable on a consistent basis, but it's 100% natural. And then from there, I try to keep the purity as high as possible.
You know, so there's not a whole lot of structure to the way that I do an interview, and I usually only have one structured question. It's always the first, but we're going to go way, way back in time
Oh
to
boy.
where were you born and what was life like as a kid for Jacki?
Oh boy. Well, I was actually born in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan,
Okay,
which is not that common.
right.
Um, and I grew up though in Southeast Michigan, pretty much. We moved down here when I was still a baby.
Okay.
And wow, what was how do you encompass an entire childhood?
Well, you
Um,
had to encompass all of it.
okay.
What was the first few years like
The first few
that you can
years
remember?
that I can remember, you know, they were fine because I was a little kid. I my mom left a bad marriage
Okay.
and she had three kids, and I came along 10 and a half years after my my brother.
Okay.
So, my siblings were much older than me, and I was probably a big pain in their ass all the time because, to be like 10 years old and have a baby that you have to
Yeah.
help take care of. But my mom left that situation and I'm very proud of her. She went to school. She had always wanted to go to art school, but instead she had met my dad and had a baby way
Yeah.
too early before she ever planned, and that, changed her life. So she went to community college and she was taking art classes, and they didn't really have care then, or they did during the day, but they didn't have it during her night classes.
Okay.
So they would I guess I was in childcare during the day, and then when they closed, they'd bring me. I remember them walking me down the hallway and going to the art room where my mom was. And she had a professor who was very kind and, he accommodating.
Yeah.
And I kind of grew up in an art class.
Cool.
So they would just give me a big shirt to wear as a smock and put me over in the corner and give me a bunch of paint and whatever, just to keep me shut up and occupied while they were trying to do their life drawing classes.
Right.
And so then I don't know if they would run out of models or if I was just too rambunctious and they just wanted to give me something to do, they would make me the model for their um, what do you call it? The quick draws, the
Yeah.
the 60-second
Wow.
studies,
Yeah.
gestures.
Okay.
And so, using a 2-year-old for that, I
Right.
guess I gave them a lot of material. And so I remember that really prominently. That was a formative memory, being in there.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we
Did you,
moved. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, did your mom get to finish schooling and go into an art career, or was it?
No, she didn't really go into it professionally. She was an artist and she's still an artist, I should say. She's still with us. Um, no, she never did it really professionally. I know that she did some commissioned works and things over the years, but it was always more of a just her passion. It's just
Yeah.
in her DNA. She's just incredibly artistic, um, with fine arts. She can
Right.
draw and paint and sculpting she loves.
Okay.
So I was really lucky to have that. Um, but I didn't know how unusual it was because I
Right.
grew up with it.
Yeah.
So then we moved to Troy because she met my stepdad,
Okay.
and I grew up on a farm in Troy, which is a suburban area, which was, it was unusual at the time. It was new subdivisions everywhere, and here we are on a gravel road with horses and chickens and ducks and stuff.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like a little oasis in the middle of all this new sprawl.
Yeah.
And that was also weird.
Right.
Um, so I was very connected to nature,
Okay.
and we weren't like a working farm. It wasn't like we didn't raise animals for eating, for subsistence. We had show horses, and the rest it was like a hobby farm.
Okay.
And I'm sure that has a whole lot to do with who I am, being
Yeah.
able to
Oh,
grow
for
up
sure.
like that, playing in the woods and climbing trees and running all around and,
Yeah.
a very Gen X kid with, just get back home by the time the sun goes down kind of thing.
Right. Lots of freedom.
Lots
Was
of freedom.
your was your older siblings, were they the ones riding the horses for show and stuff?
No,
Okay.
no, the horses were too fancy. We weren't allowed to ride them because the trainers were like, "You'll ruin them." So
Okay.
yeah, they were more of an investment and yeah, a business.
Did they have other riders showing them for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So
Gotcha.
we would go to the shows and everything and but yeah, I wasn't allowed to ride any of them. We had ponies though and miniature horses, so we could ride those.
Okay. Right on. Yeah, you probably don't know this about me. I have a younger sister that's 9 years younger than I am. So I
I,
kind of understand that age gap. And I also have a older sister that is a half sister, and she's 7 years older than I
oh wow.
am. And early on, when she got married, her and her husband had Tennessee Walker show horses,
Oh wow.
and they used to go to the shows and all that stuff. So I've been around that environment and what
Yes.
that's like.
So
And
you know. You
yeah,
know.
for sure.
It was fun. I mean, it was a really different kind of experience. But it was nothing in my life has ever been normal and I never fit in. So while I really enjoyed um, that unique experience, I also had the sense of never fitting in.
Okay.
And I think a lot of kids also were mean and they used to make fun of me and they'd call me hillbilly and these boys would bully me and everything, which was horrendous at the time.
Right.
When you're in middle school and 11 years old, you just want to blend into the wall. You don't want to stand out at all. And these guys used to target me, and I missed out on a lot of things because we had the farm.
Right.
I had chores. I had to clean stalls and feed the horses and let them in and out and stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, we didn't travel. We didn't go to Disney World. We didn't do anything. The only time we would travel was for a horse show.
Yeah.
So I missed out on a lot of things that people I went to school with were doing. And also we lived in an up and coming area at the time. Troy was,
Yeah.
getting fancy.
Right.
And here
Right.
I am like the hillbilly on the dirt road.
Yeah. It's funny that they were calling you hillbilly because there's really no hills out in
Yes,
that
it was
area.
very flat.
It's all flat
Gee, I
land.
should have pointed that out. You know what? There are no hills.
Yeah.
I will say this though. Later, one of them gave me a humongous gift of healing, and I
Oh,
will forever, forever be grateful to him for this. And we got to high school, and I don't know, I blossomed or something. I just finally I just don't care anymore. I'm like, I'm gonna kick people's ass. Don't bother me anymore. I just, I don't know. I came into
yeah.
myself, I guess.
Right.
Um, so one of these guys sat next to me in a class and we became friends.
Okay.
And he finally, I don't know, we were talking one day and I said, "Don't you remember, George, you guys used to torment me and stand
Yeah.
outside my art room class, wait for me outside of home ec and line up and you three guys used to go he, be, lee." And he's like, "Oh, did we do that? Yeah, we did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." He's like, "But don't you know, Jackie, we were so jealous of you." I was like, "You were
Uh,
not." And he's like, "Yeah, you had this really cool life. You had this farm. You were going to all these horse shows. You're hanging out with Patrick Swayze, and you just didn't care what everybody else was doing. You had your own life, and it just seemed like you didn't care. So we were jealous."
right.
And I'm like, "You are
Interesting.
kidding me." Like, no.
So you just said something I got to stop you and ask you about. You said you're hanging out with Patrick Swayze.
Oh, yes.
How did that happen?
He had also show horses. He had
Okay.
these Arabian horses, and I got to meet him a few times. And it's kind of funny because I met him the first time right before I started high school. It was between eighth grade, junior high, and or is it junior, middle school and
Middle
high
school.
school. And it was the summer between then, and it was right before Dirty Dancing came out,
Okay.
like right before.
Yeah.
And I met him because one of our mutual horse people was very good friends with him. And then
Yeah.
he's like, come on down and meet him. So I loved him because of the outsiders.
Right. Yeah.
And and the North and South, those were the two big things that he had done. I didn't see Red Dawn. And so I met him and he's like, "Oh, I just came off the hardest gig I've ever done, the hardest thing." And I was like, "Oh, was it, like another action movie?" And he's like, "No, it was dancing." And he told me all about this movie. And I was
Really?
like, "Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Are there horses in it?" And I don't know what I said. I was,
Yeah.
13 years old or something. And so he was very kind, exceedingly kind. And I got to meet him a few more times over the years of the horse shows. And he
Yeah.
even remembered me, which was nice.
Oh, cool.
Got to
Very cool.
eat grits and Waffle House next to him and stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah, so then I go into high school and Dirty Dancing came out and it was the biggest deal, especially
Yeah.
among the girls. And I remember being in the locker room in phys ed and some girls were like, I just love Patrick Swayze. Oh my God. I was like, oh, you want to see his, I have his autograph. I met him. You did not. So I got to bring it in. I was pretty cool for a little while.
Right. That's interesting. It's also interesting too that the guys were telling you that they were jealous of you, so that was the reason why they were bullying you.
Yeah, it's the thing that all the adults say to you when you're a little kid and they're like, "Oh, they're just picking on you because they're jealous of you," and you don't believe them, you
Right.
know.
Doesn't feel that
They're
way.
no, these are platitudes we don't believe.
Yeah.
And so he said that. He offered that up freely. Um, and I will be forever grateful to him for giving me that.
Sure. Gave you some understanding.
Yeah, yeah, some healing for
Yeah.
sure.
Was high school uh, something where you started to excel as well as you were coming into this newfound confidence, or no?
Um, Not at first.
Okay.
I I started falling in with not the best crowd.
Okay.
And I started discovering skipping class. And so I was just absent most of ninth grade, kept skipping. We used to go to a pizza parlor where the owner let us make pizzas, and if we delivered them, she'd let us make our own and get free pizza.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
we'd go and, smoke cigarettes and joints and stuff behind the pizza parlor by the
Right.
school. And yeah, really a lot of, I never did anything bad, like no, never harming anybody, but just,
Yeah.
being a little, you know,
Delinquent.
a delinquent. Yes.
Not a criminal, just a
Not a
delinquent.
criminal. Yeah, we didn't do anything. Yeah, no, we would just go and just be lazy jerks and just go. Although we were, delivering pizza, I thought that was kind of, we worked a good deal there.
Right.
But and then so no, I kind of fell in with a not a bad crowd, but just not the overachievers.
Yeah. The crowd that wasn't interested in studying.
They weren't, yeah, they were, but they were, they were more into music and
Yeah.
we were all the kind of misfits.
Yeah.
Back then we were known as the burnouts.
Right.
That was the term. And there
Right.
were the preppies and there were the burnouts. And it was very much like the outsiders.
Yeah.
So, but then, so it wasn't that I wasn't capable. It was just that I didn't do the work and I didn't show up and I kept skipping um, and then in the beginning of my sophomore year, my life changed forever and my
Okay.
brother died
Mm.
in a terrible, tragic fluke um, dune buggy accident.
Okay.
And I was very close to him, and he was super important to me because my dad was absent. He lived a lot.
Right.
He was like Uncle Dad. He
Yeah.
drifted in and out of my life, and but my brother was I followed him everywhere, and he loved to torment me, but he also protected me, and he was very, very much um, my biggest protector.
Yeah.
And there was some child abuse and stuff that we all endured. And he was the only one in my life who really was trying to stand up and get me out of that situation or keep me occupied and away from harm.
Okay.
So when he died, um, which was October 8th, and it was my sophomore year, so we had just started school up.
Right.
Uh, it was devastating.
Yeah.
And so that was when I don't know why, but I just uh, cleaned up my act.
Hmm.
I started actually going to class, and then I wound up on the honor roll.
Interesting. So you felt, did you feel a sense that you had to honor his passing by starting to get a little bit more focused?
I
And
don't I don't think it was. I definitely how do I put this? I I definitely stepped into his shoes in a lot of roles within our
okay,
family,
got you. Okay,
but I don't think that school, I mean, he struggled with school. Think he
okay,
ever, I don't think he ever even graduated. I think he got a GED. My
okay.
sister graduated, but it was a struggle. So, I mean, school was going to college and stuff for my family was not
Not the thing.
not the thing. There were
Gotcha.
some people that did, but just it wasn't the thing for other families.
Yeah.
Like so, um, I don't know. I I don't remember why. I think I just grew up a lot.
Okay.
I think for me, that was a lifelong defining moment of you absolutely are not guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
You have no idea um, when your last day is.
Yeah.
And it can happen when you're 25 years old and getting your life together and building a family and starting to do really well and it can
Yeah.
just be all snatched away. So I think that was it. I think that just kind of not finding as much interest in the dumb things that other kids were doing
Right.
anymore. There was like um what's the what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. When this happens as well, were there any things that you started to do creatively that allowed you to potentially express some of that grief?
I started writing music,
Okay.
started writing songs, and they were very not good. They were, you know, love songs and angst
Sure.
and that kind of stuff. I had always written kind of like I'd always been into writing. I also drew and I did everything. I'm like a super creative
Yeah.
in that way. Like I'm just so music and poetry and reading and writing and all of that stuff was always just there. It's just
Yeah.
like air. So I
Right.
wrote some bad songs. And then I actually wrote a couple good ones that I think I could sell today. I honestly do. People still
I,
ask me about those two songs.
I have
So
no doubt that you
if
probably
anybody
could.
out there knows how to sell a couple of songs, just get in touch with me.
Well, you're talking to somebody here, so we can have a conversation
All
after.
right. I just need to sell them and let them become somebody else's, you know,
Right? It
indie
only
popper
takes
hit.
one. It only
Yeah,
takes one.
yeah, that'd be good. So yeah, I was writing, and of course I was 14. He died just before I turned 15. So it was a very hormonal age,
Yeah.
very angsty anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and just, I mean, I was always in art classes. It was just, it's not even a question. Like,
Right.
I don't even think about it now. I have to, oh yeah, that was always there.
Well, you had that kind of imprinted in you early on with your mom being in art classes herself, and then you being right there, literally with her
Right there.
and surrounded by all of it. So
Yeah.
it's almost
So it
kind
was
of
just
natural.
very natural. Just, totally at home in a studio. And one of the things that I did, though, that my My mom never did. I got into photography really early.
Okay.
And my stepdad had actually bought her, she wanted a camera. And he always would not listen to what she asked for. He would go over the top. So he bought her this camera that had, different lenses and it had manual mode and all of this stuff. And she was like, I don't know what the hell to do with all of this. And so I started playing with it and I would get in trouble for using the camera. So I had to do it
On the slide.
on the sly. And my mom, not my mom, she didn't care, but the stepdad, he would, uh, he didn't like it and
Right.
he was abusive. So,
Mm.
that was a messed up situation. But, so I just learned how to do that when he wasn't there. And I
Okay.
started taking pictures of everything. So I found that to be, maybe I'm lazy. It was a faster way to get to what I see
Sure.
instead of me having to pull it out of my hands and create it.
Right.
I'd
You
see
could
something
capture.
like, yeah, just there it is.
Yep.
So, I think I became impatient with drawing and painting and sculpting and that kind of thing and ceramics.
Right.
Like, oh, this is fun, but I can just do this really fast.
Yeah. Interesting. Were you taking pictures of nature and stuff out on the farm, or were you doing stuff around school that was a little bit more industrialized?
It was mostly nature.
Okay.
I'm I am I have an affinity for nature and animals.
Yeah.
I'm, an introvert, but I feel very at home in the natural world. It's my healing place. It's where I used
Yeah.
to run away from getting abused.
Hmm.
I'd go and hide in trees, just hang out. And
Yeah.
um and I guess I forgot about these things. Boy, you're really dredging up things. Um so I did a lot of creative writing and stuff. And so I tried to write through the grief of my brother and that
Yeah.
loss. But it was never like a deliberate thing.
Okay.
It was just
Kind of like
those,
a natural instinct.
yeah, those were just the things that I guess were available to me. So that was how I expressed or processed.
For sure. For sure. With understanding that your mom left a relationship early on and then got into another relationship that was probably more detrimental to you and your siblings, versus the one that she left. Was there anybody else other than your brother that kind of stood up for you and looked out for you?
Um,
No? Okay.
I did have in middle school, I had an awesome teacher, and she's retired now, but she's still with us.
Yeah.
Her name was Ruth, and she had horses, or she loved horses, I'm sorry. And she loved to ride horses, and she had a picture of her on a horse. And I asked her about that when
Yeah.
I had her. She was my gym teacher and the
Okay.
health health education teacher.
Yeah.
And she and I bonded over that. She kind of
Sure.
took me under her wing.
Okay.
And so she was a person that, yeah.
You
And
could kind of confide.
no, I never did,
Okay.
actually. It wasn't until I'm still in touch with her, but it
Right.
wasn't until I was much older, an adult, and I got together with her over lunch, and I was shocked because she obviously is an older person, an educator. She
Yeah.
saw the signs that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
And so she had called me, we were talking over lunch, and she said something about me being an at-risk kid. And I was like, what? I had never, no one had ever said that to me before. And,
Right.
those kids I was hanging out with and skipping school and smoking, and
Right.
just being a delinquent.
Yeah.
She was worried about me. So she deliberately tried to take me under her wing and intervene, be a
Gotcha.
positive influence. And so that was
That was
that
one
was
of the.
yeah.
And with that though too, you had a commonality with the horses that
Yes.
allowed you to have an easy connection.
Yep. And she came to our house and she had adopted a boy from Uruguay
Okay.
and he only spoke Spanish because he was
Yeah.
from there. And she didn't speak any Spanish. And I was taking Spanish classes, so I spoke my broken Spanish to him.
Oh
My
wow.
and he got to ride one of our ponies.
Yeah.
And and so yeah, she was very important to me. She was very close to me. But yeah, I had not known that she had identified me as, this risk at risk kid. And
Yeah.
at that point, I finally told her, like, well, so did you know I was abused? She's like, no, I didn't know you were, but I'm not surprised.
Right.
You had all the signs. I'm like, God, huh?
Yeah. A lot of times, it's not everybody is oblivious. With,
No, no. And it's, now being
sure.
being this age,
Yeah.
and I think we can see it,
Yeah.
and once you've lived it, and now that I have some maturity, or at least some years more experience.
Yeah. I want to ask you something about your connection with nature. When you were uh, taking photographs and different things like that, you already were comfortable being in nature, being
Hmm.
around that environment. Did you feel more of a intuitive connection with nature in terms of the wonders of nature versus, oh, I'm just taking pictures of the things that I like? Was there that sensitivity of knowingness throughout those years?
Um, I don't think it was. I think we take photos of what feels familiar and what we
Yeah.
feel comfortable with and what we know and what we love. And so, I don't think it was a deliberate thing again. I feel like the first part of my life, I was so in the dark about certain things, um,
Okay. That's all right.
about myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
But so it was what I knew, and I loved the animals. I felt at home with them. I felt like I understood them and they understood me better than my relationships with humans.
Right.
Even though I had a lot of friends and I always had the ability to uh I guess people call it an ambivert now, but I didn't know what an introvert was. That's something that's kind of more recent.
Yeah.
Um, but I just needed to go and be in nature to decompress after being around humans.
Yeah. It's
And
it's kind of like an empath.
yeah, I'm very empathic.
Yes.
And that's very common for children of abuse. You become hyper aware and
As well as
sensitive.
creatives.
And creatives.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just a boring old textbook case, I guess.
No, I wouldn't say boring at all. I mean, how many people get to hang out with Patrick Swayze at horse riding events?
Well, there were a lot of people there, but yeah.
Yeah, you were one that made an impression because when you saw him again, he remembered meeting you. So you were able to establish some little bit of rapport.
Yes.
With this experience of picking up the camera and stepping into that photography as you're getting towards the end of high school, are you thinking that maybe you might want to do this as potentially a career, or was there some other things that you were looking at that you were thinking about?
I feel like looking back now, I was so clueless about anything. There was never any no guidance on what to do after high school. There was no
Mhm.
guidance on like well, you should go to college, you should do this. There was just probably people mentioned it, but there was nothing to anchor it to. There was nothing concrete about it.
Right, right.
So I don't remember thinking about anything. I went through all the things that young kids tend to do. I'm going to be a veterinarian because I love animals. And I don't know. But actually, what I never even thought about a photographer has a job because the only photographers that I'd ever seen in real life were like portrait photographers.
Okay.
I did not want to do that.
Right,
So
right.
even though I love taking pictures of people, I like taking candid shots. And so
Yeah.
um, it just wasn't even on my radar. And the first time I thought about doing anything with my life, um, other than my adolescent dreams of being a singer-songwriter, but having crippling straight stage fright, so that put the kibosh on that.
Yeah, there's no way that was going to happen for you.
No, I could not sing in front of people.
Yeah.
I did some recording and stuff, and that was painful enough, and had to sing in front of the musician guy who did the. And I loved singing. I love singing. I still do, but I still have the stage fright.
Right.
Um, but so we I went and saw. I loved movies. Loved movies. Never even thought about how people have jobs in movies.
Okay.
Movies are just stories that come to us by magic, right?
Right.
And I don't know what it was, but I saw the movie JFK. And for some reason, that movie, I noticed the different film stocks that um, Oliver Stone used and stuff, and the different shooting styles. And I was trying to talk with my friend who I'd gone to see it with about it, and he was like, "What?" I mean, like he didn't even. And I was like, didn't you
Didn't phase
notice
him.
like how this was like all grainy and like he used like it looked like an old movie and then like this one was like super like and he's like, huh? And I'm like, really? You can't even see it? And then I remember talking to my mom about she used to watch soap operas or whatever on TV. And I was like, I hate soap operas. He's like, why? I was like, I hate the lighting. I hate the lighting and I hate doesn't it look different to you? Doesn't it look, because I didn't know the difference between video and film at that point. I just knew I hated how it looked.
Right.
It's like, movies look better. And so I don't know what that unlocked in me. So I started going like, why does that look different? Why does
Right.
this movie, why does it, what does this all mean? And so I started learning about all of that and I was like, ah. And um, I had always, oh, another thing I wasn't allowed to touch was our video camera.
Okay.
So of course I used it all the time.
Of course.
Um, just wasn't allowed to around my stepdad. And so
Yeah.
I would make little movies and cut them
Okay.
together with using my Barbies.
All right.
And like I did a whole thing of Les Miserables with the Barbies
Oh, wow.
and to the soundtrack of Les Mis.
Okay.
And I was just doing all these things all my life. So I don't know why these things didn't dawn on me. So I don't know. I finally started thinking about film and learning about film and video production and stuff like that. And I was like, God, the other people work on movies, not
Right.
just the actors, not just the the writers, not even just the directors, although that's what I wanted to do. And so
Yeah.
I got more into that and studying film, and I started becoming kind of a film nut.
Okay.
And so by the time I left high school, I thought I'd love to go to film school, but at this point, even though I was on the honor roll and all of that kind of stuff, I never had taken all of the tests. I still don't even know what SATs. I'd
Yeah.
never done any of that stuff. So I had no college prep at all.
Okay.
And I guess I thought about becoming I wanted to get into the business, but I didn't know what to do. And then I graduated high school and I took a year to figure it out. And that's when I met our friend in common.
Chris?
Yep. And then I don't remember who said it, but they're like, if you can't go to film school, what about Specs Howard, which was
Yeah.
uh, um, the only,
Recording school.
yeah, it was at that time broadcast arts.
Yeah.
So it was about radio and video production, television production. And I was like, oh. And I wound up getting a Pell Grant and
Okay.
I had saved up all my babysitting money for years
Mm-hmm.
and I got a loan and I enrolled there. And
Cool.
that was quite the experience.
And did you, once you got into it, was it something that just fueled you to
Yeah,
move through it as fast and as garbling up as much as you could?
totally. Yeah, I fully immersed. I took every opportunity when I was there, every available extracurricular like project or whatever.
Yeah.
We had I don't even remember what you call it now. We had a separate series that was like not part of the program, but it was an
Mm-hmm.
extracurricular. It was
Okay.
so we had a show that we did, and I was the director,
Oh, cool.
and then I got I was working before I even graduated from Specs. I was going as an intern,
Yeah.
unpaid, but just happy to be on a set
Right.
in any capacity. And I kept studying film. I had all these film books and film. And I
Yeah.
decided I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker more than I ever wanted to be um,
Mainstream film.
yeah, in fictional movies.
Right.
Although I love watching those, to me, I it was starting to solidify activism for me and wanting
Yeah.
to give a voice to those who didn't have a voice,
Right.
animals, children,
Yeah.
um, the underserved, the underrepresented.
Yeah.
And it just started all gelling. I could take my love of writing. I was doing script writing. I was, um, photography translates to videography,
Yeah.
and so I was shooting stuff and um, then my love of music naturally. It all came together. And your sense of design, you have to be able to understand uh, you know composition and light and
Right.
all of that. So it was this place where, oh my gosh, everything that I love, I can do nature documentaries.
Yeah.
And it all just seemed so perfect, a way for me to funnel all of the things that I loved and that came naturally to me
Right. Right.
into one thing.
And with that, were you working at one of the local TV stations, radio stations, or
No, I
where
never. Oh,
where
go
did you
ahead.
get into the internship component?
Just by being at Specs Howard and asking my teachers and stuff, and then they'd let us know if there was a gig or whatever. But no, I never in official capacity worked for any of the radio stations or TV stations, but I worked on things at them.
Okay.
Um, so I got to meet like all the news anchors and stuff of the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Mort Grimm and Bill Bonds. And Bill
Right.
Bonds came in and did a segment on one of the shows that I directed.
Okay.
Just it was, yeah, it was a cool experience. Um, but uh, I didn't. I just was an independent. I didn't know how to fall in. I didn't know how to become like a normal go to work kind of person.
Well, that's okay because I think that there's a lot of that uh, in the creative community where just the structured environment of a regular job doesn't fit everybody. There's those of us who are extremely creative in multiple fields, uh, being able to do many different things. That if you put us into a structured job where we have to be there from 9 to 5 o'clock, or even if it's a 10-hour shift or whatever, it starts to stunt and confine us to the point where it becomes almost impossible to sustain. We've got to be able to move freely and do the things that are inspiring us within the moment and shift around. And I know for me, that was one of the reasons why I started doing my own businesses was because I got tired of having to conform to everybody else's structure. Um,
Yeah.
Although, I did it for a while, especially when I was working at Tubby's. I did that for 9 years. And so I was able to do that, but also, too, I knew how much money I was making doing that. So it was like, all right, that's the trade off. Um, but after a while, that turned into a scenario where it's like, okay, then I started to realize I'm not getting the money that I actually deserve, not getting appreciated for the work that I'm doing. They're having me do way more than what uh, I am being paid to do. Um, and also, too, I wanted to move up and go into the advertising department at the corporate
Oh,
offices. And so that's where I would had gone off to Florida to try and study graphic design. And that didn't work out because I was having to pay for most of everything myself. Couldn't afford to make enough when I was home from school
yeah.
to go back to school. And it just became a whole cycle of frustration. And I had met with, because of the store that I was working at, the CEO actually owned that store as well. So I had a kind of a straight line to potentially get into the corporate office through him. And he looked at my portfolio a few times, and I guess it just wasn't what he was looking for to have it translate. But he, turned me down 3 times going into the corporate office, and I was like, "All right, well, this is not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to go off and start my own business, start designing clothes." Um, and that's where that kind of took over for me. For you, though, being in these environments and having these opportunities, when did it click for you that you could do your own thing and potentially have the opportunity to do your own thing outside of those traditional environments?
Um, I don't
And
know.
I'm asking this because I know there's I know there's part of your story where you started working on a documentary.
Hmm. I guess I really don't remember. Honestly, it was just that there was an issue happening out in Yellowstone. And I had an affinity for Native Americans and the Native American culture. Um, there's Native American a native North American in my family line, but we don't really explore that. But I don't know. It was just that there was a plight of the Yellowstone bison herd, and they were facing extinction. And here they were. They had been an amazing story of recovery, um, of conservation triumph, and then they were being killed off again,
Yeah.
pretty much by the cattle industry. And I was just so frustrated and angry, and I was young and full of fire and thought I can make a difference and I can make a film about it. So I worked on a few movies and things, um, and mostly video production though. And this bison thing was happening, continuing to happen. And I worked out an outline for a script. I wrote the first entire opening, the intro for a documentary, but I didn't know how to, just like the songs that I wrote, I don't know how to sell them. I don't know where to go with it. I didn't
Yeah.
know how to pursue those kinds of connections because I think I always crippled myself by being too independent
Okay.
and not knowing how to. I just never knew how to follow the herd. No pun
Right.
intended. I just never understood how all that stuff works.
Right.
And um, so I started writing to people, and I wrote to this the I wrote to all these people that were on the front lines of this issue.
Okay.
And I even wound up talking to the head director of the um, Intertribal Bison Cooperative, who
Okay.
were um, on the front lines of that issue, or and major uh, not players. I don't want to say players, but
The leading activists.
yeah, they were part of this whole controversy that was happening.
Yeah.
And um, I had handwritten out this entire script and then gave the outline for the rest, not the entire script, wrote the whole intro, wrote out the script and on lined paper, and then the whole outline for the film. And I sent it to him, and he called me, and I was shocked, and I didn't know what to do with it though.
Right.
And this issue was continuing to go on.
Yeah.
Um, and I was trying to find a way to make it happen. And finally, I just was like, well, I guess I'll just do it myself. So I started calling people out in Montana and calling like the governor's office and stuff. Like, hi, would the governor of Montana do an interview with me? Hi, I'm calling from Michigan.
Right.
And they're like, maybe. And then I started gathering up whatever savings I had, and I pulled friends together, and I'm like, "Hey, if I can pull this together, you want to go to Montana with me and shoot a documentary?" And they're like, "Okay." I'm like, "Okay." And at this time I was still just working on like, you know, commercial video production and stuff, mostly talking head stuff, a
Yeah.
lot of car stuff, lots and lots
Okay.
of car stuff because Detroit.
Yeah.
So my film friends and stuff, my production friends, they were like, "Yeah, we're game," because they're creatives and they want to do anything other than cars too. And so, a long story short, a lot of people involved, a lot of people donating or giving me discounts, for equipment, or just or lending me equipment and everything. And then I contacted all at the time. This was all shot on film. Um, I contacted the the film processing labs and stuff, and I was like, "Hey, do you have any short ends?" And so what they used to do is, there would be a, a reel of um, film, and someone would shoot it and only expose so much of it, and they would call it a short end. And then like the leftovers they would save. So
Yeah.
it would be, raw film that was unexposed that you could buy, but it would be,
Just
uh,
short.
yeah, so you wouldn't be able to get it a full half hour of film out of it. You'd have to get like 10-minute increments and stuff. So I bought those, and um, four friends came with me in March of 1998, and we drove to frickin' Montana in two minivans. And the trip out there was more perilous than and more interesting than the film itself. And one thing that I did do, because I always have to document everything, is I bought a video camera as a backup for the film. And I'm
Okay.
so glad that I did. And one thing that hadn't happened yet, people today are so used to YouTube and in even just like the what do you call this, like selfies and stuff like that. That was not a thing, back
Right.
then that we grew up
Yeah.
with.
Yep.
So I documented. I took this I bought this camera because it was going to be the backup, but then I documented the entire trip out there. And it probably would still make a good film today if I wanted to sit down and try and cut it together. Because
Uh-huh.
the better story became us five assholes running
Make
all
it.
over Montana trying to make this film.
Yeah.
But so I was just recording and documenting us uh, going out there, and like we hit a snowstorm before we even ever got to Chicago, like just right out of the gate, and all of these antics and absurd things happened.
Yeah.
And but I don't know how I lined up these interviews with real people and went and spoke to Native Americans who were part of that bison cooperative, and the little hippies who were out there putting themselves between the bison and the guns. And I talked to the governor of Montana, who wound up becoming a pretty prominent Republican guy.
Okay.
Um, and I just talked to all of these like major figures in this whole plight. And I don't know how I did that now that I'm thinking about it. Just stupid, I guess. Like just fearless. Like, oh, I guess I'll ask
Yeah.
them.
I'm saying it is sheer determination. Like you
Determination, and there was a lot
just,
of people helping,
yeah.
helpers, lots of support, and just people like, yeah, I'm game. Let's make this happen. Let's go.
Right.
And so that experience, now this part is a bummer, and I hate having to tell people this part, but I never finished that film. Shot it, got all kinds of footage, did all these interviews, met these amazing people who donated. Like even when we got out there, there's people that donated their um, places for us to stay and
Okay.
fed us, um,
Yeah.
all of this stuff. We stayed in a teepee. I mean, like all kinds of crazy stuff. But I did not have. I just didn't have what it took to like pull all of these different elements together because I didn't have a script, and I didn't know how to edit all of what I had once we got home.
Right.
And I also was relying on friends. So somebody who was going to edit it, then they also had a real job and they were trying to do it on the side. And just like it just never, that part never came together
Okay.
like the actual making and going out and doing the film did.
Right.
And that used to make me feel really bad for a long, long time. And it really sat like a monkey on my back. And then I think in my older years, I finally looked back on it and I was like, it all came together so magically to go do the shooting,
Yeah.
but it just could never come together for the finishing. And I don't think it was ever about that.
Right.
And by the way, the issue's still going on. And other people did make films, including that guy that I sent the handwritten script to,
Yeah.
they shot that script.
Okay.
Not with me, but they got tired of waiting for me, but they stole my film
Your idea.
concept
Yeah.
and shot the entire intro exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it aired on PBS.
Holy cow.
And the World Wildlife Fund were part of the production um, producers. I don't know what like that. Yeah, that was hard. But also from that, I got the lesson out of that that what I had done was good enough.
Oh,
I just
absolutely.
I just didn't know how to, you know, get it
Wrap
over
it
the
up.
line,
Yeah. Wrap it up.
but what I had was valuable. So for a long time that really, oh, that hurt, that stung. But now I'm like, fuck yeah, I did that. And they didn't even change it. They were like, yeah, we got this script right here. We're just gonna use it,
Right.
shot for shot.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
it's amazing that they just ripped it off line for line.
Yeah.
That is that is a hard pill to swallow. I've had that done before. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's never it's never fun for anybody,
No.
obviously, because it's straight up theft. So as creatives, you put your energy into it, and then when somebody else takes it and doesn't even modify it at all, they just take it exactly what it is and put it out there as their own. That always cuts. Um, so, you know,
How,
but
what? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, with that though, getting to that place of not being able to finish, um, based off of the intro, you started your organics company in '99. So, was there a situation in between the finishing of that and the starting or not finishing of it, but just having to, kind of throw your hands up and say, this isn't going to happen in
Uh,
between to that and starting the organics
no,
body products?
there's usually no like opening and closing in any door in my life. There are all these things that just kind of feather or blend together. More like a
Oh,
gradient. It's just a
okay.
constant gradient.
Okay. So, what does the gradient look like?
So, I was still working, and I racked up, $12,000 of debt on credit cards to shoot that film and everything. So then I had to come back home and trying to find a way to edit it. And I mean, this was taking a couple years. Um, and so during that time, it's still like a carrot on the end of a stick. Um,
Yeah.
so just, I went back to working, freelancing, working on whatever paid and paying off that credit card debt to shoot
Right.
that film. And then during that time, the economy had started to really take a downturn.
Hmm.
And working mostly for car companies, they were tightening the belt, and it was getting harder to find work or work regularly. And in the meantime, this is a kind of a I hate to tell people this part of my story, but it's the truth. I had smoked. I grew up in a family that smoked. I started smoking when I was 11 years old,
Okay.
and I quit smoking when I was how old was I? 26. I think I had smoked half my life. I had regular smoker since 13.
And it's cigarettes you're talking.
Cigarettes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I never got into doing
Weed.
that other stuff. Yeah, I tried weed. I gave it the old college try and I realized, I really don't like this. So I just never took to it. But yeah, so I quit smoking and I needed something to do with my hands.
Right.
I needed something to replace that bad habit with. And there were all these, I was always crafty and always making stuff. And I had been wanting to make soap for a while.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to make some soap. I was going to make it. I'm going to learn how to make soap. And so I went to the library and I found books on making soap. There were two. They weren't really books about soap. They were books that mentioned making soap. One
Okay.
of them was making soap with animal fats, which
Okay.
had been up to that point the major way that soap was made.
Yeah.
And we didn't, I mean, there was the internet, but there was nobody making soap, really. I found one website where a lady was making soap and she was using crayons to color them.
Oh my word.
Yeah. And I got this idea about soap because I had gone to the health food store, which was where I bought all my skincare and everything, because I had always been super, super sensitive to chemicals.
Okay.
I had very sensitive skin, super sensitive to artificial fragrances and everything. And um, so I realized that natural ingredients didn't do that. So
Right.
I started making my own skincare and stuff, but I bought um, a handmade vegetable soap, and it looked so beautiful and wholesome. It had actual oatmeal in it and stuff, and I it was like I never even thought about where soap comes from. Wait a minute, vegetables. Wait, what? And I mean, it was just like a click moment. Like, what?
Right.
I never even thought about where soap comes from or how it's made or whatever. So I I am an endlessly curious person, and the first thing I do every time is research, go to the library. So I couldn't find much on that. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'm just gonna have to make some damn soap to figure it out. Um, oh, I'm skipping the part where I bought that soap and it was a revelation because I used it and I had never experienced a handmade soap before.
Okay.
Um, it was totally different from the bar soaps you got from the store
Yeah.
and totally different from the little soaps collecting dust on the back of my grandma's toilet.
Right.
And totally just like so creamy and it like so the lather was like it was so awesome and like it just felt so good on your skin and everything. But the one thing about it was that it had an artificial scent in it and I didn't know. And I using it and I'm like, and I start getting the familiar itchiness in my throat and like my nose and like, and it kind of hurts me between the eyes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn it, damn it. Why do they always compromise? You look at the ingredients of something and like, yeah, there's a big letdown.
Right.
Why would you go through all this trouble to make a beautiful handmade bar of natural soap and then put an artificial fragrance in it? So that
Yeah.
was the impetus where I was like, I'm gonna make my own damn soap. So I set about to make my own soap and it was an utter failure. Did everything wrong. But that was the only one. And then the second batch of soap turned out really good. And I
Okay.
was so excited. And nobody else at that time knew about handmade vegetable soap, made from olive oil and stuff like that. All of
Yeah.
these like nice, delicious oils that we are used to eating.
Yeah.
And so I started giving them out as gifts. And then I was like, oh, everybody was loving them. So I had all my Christmas gifts for that year. And I had quit smoking. I was so happy about that to be free of that burden.
Yeah.
And it turns out I had a really good nose for blending,
Okay.
especially since I had quit smoking and I could smell.
Right.
God. And so I started getting essential oils because that was the only natural way to scent something.
Right.
This was before the essential oil crazes and the multi-level marketing stuff and all of
Right.
that. Um, and by that Christmas, then I got my first order, and it was from a friend of a friend, and they're like, "Oh, I gave my friend one of your soaps that you gave me, and they loved it, and they want to buy some." And I was like, "Okay." So I started selling soap on the side. I was still
Yeah.
working on set. and I'm telling everybody on set, like, oh, I started making soap, and they're like, no way, bring it in. I want to try it. Da, da. And so same thing. I just was giving people like my scraps and samples or giving them bars and stuff. They're like, I want to buy some.
Okay.
And it just happened very organically, no pun intended.
Right.
It happened despite me. It
Yeah.
was it was just a train that started chugging.
Actually, we should say that it was pun intended.
Well, it wasn't really intended, but now it is.
Yeah. And and two, that the way that you were making this happen and the way that it happened organically is literally social media before social media online.
Well, it was just social. It
It
wasn't
was the
media.
real life social. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The media is the fact that you're conveying, I have this product. Would you like some? Or somebody coming back to you and say, hey, so and so gave me this. I love it. I want to buy some. So at its core and at its essence, that is the ingredient that everybody realistically should want to have in creating anything,
Yeah.
is for it to flow naturally like that. People wanting it because they like it, they appreciate it, they're connected to somebody who's creating this. So the organic exposure. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary B at all.
Yeah,
Gary Vaynerchuk.
very
Yeah.
much. Yep.
So his whole thing is organic, organic, organic. Like, don't you don't have to force things for it to happen. If it's good enough, people are going to like it, and if a lot of people like it, then you know it's more than good enough. It's a thing. um,
Yeah.
that's how it becomes what it is, and as big as it is for other people, as big as it has been for you. um, and so with that, um, starting to get traction, and you're starting to see, hey, this is a thing here.
Hmm.
When does your mind shift into, oh, I think I need to set this up as an actual business?
It took a little while because I was still working, as
Yeah.
a freelancer
Yeah.
in film video production, mostly video production. And this was just my hobby that was paying for itself, which was a nice thing, a side
Yeah.
hustle before it was
Exactly.
called that.
Yes.
Uh, but then a few things, there was a confluence of things that the economy was slowing down. The car companies were not outsourcing stuff anymore. They were starting to try and do everything in-house. Um, and we were having a recession. And at the time, my boyfriend and I were playing with the idea of moving up to the UP, Upper Peninsula, where I was born,
Okay.
and living in the woods, with no electricity, no water, anything like that.
Okay.
And I can't do film production, video production from the woods of the
Right.
UP, but I could make soap.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about, well, like really, this is an old-fashioned method of making the soap. We speed it along with a few things like electricity by being able to use a stick blender, immersion blender.
Yeah.
But you can make it by just hand stirring it. It just takes a little longer.
Right.
And I was like, this is something I could do, and I could drive into Marquette and, the big city and sell it from shops there or, go drop it off at UPS, whatever. I don't know. I had these weird, crunchy, fever, hippie dreams,
Right.
being young and idealistic. And then, my boyfriend was older and more reasonable, and he's like, yeah, it's a nice idea, but I gotta go back to work, and I'm not gonna be able to retire like that. So I kept working, but I started doing, some people were like, why don't you do some art shows and stuff? I was like, oh, okay. What else am I going to do on a weekend? So, I started doing art shows, and those started doing really well right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And it started to become a problem because I'd be, if you're on set most of the time, you hire the people around you. While the coordinator or the producer's there or whatever, they're the production manager, whatever. While they're standing there looking at all these freelancers, they're like lining up their next gig, and they're like, "Hey, you available for these dates?" And you're like, "No, I got it. Yeah, I'm in." And I started missing out on things like that because I would be at an I it would like a gig would interfere with an art show.
Right.
And so I naturally started not getting as many gigs, and it was starting to become a problem because then I, I also was afraid to uh, schedule an art show because I was losing out on gigs, and it kind of became like a tension point, and I had to choose something.
Right.
And I felt like at that time, because the economy and the work was out of my hands, having the soap thing felt more in my control.
Right.
So, and it was something I could do from home, and I loved doing it. I love making the stuff, the playing mad scientist, and I mean, I have to make some more soap later today, and to this day, I love making soap. It's so magical. It's like true alchemy, and you're
Yes.
taking these disparate ingredients, and they come together in this magical process. It's just so cool.
Right.
Cutting it, and I still have to smell every bar that I cut. That smells so good. Dang, that's good. And so, obviously I had a passion for it, and so I just started taking. I stopped trying to get as many gigs. I still did freelance though, in an overlap of a few years, but it got more and more occasional.
Yeah.
And the soap thing just started taking off. Just, yes, or it grew organically, what people call organically now. And it
Yeah.
was a matter of I I made a good product because I am a researcher.
Right.
As much as a creative I am, I also have a very heavy, um, I don't know, like I'm also really rooted in science, and because science to me is magic. It's really
Right.
magical. Science
Yes.
science is the study of the magical world around us, of the miracles that are all around us.
Right.
All it is just trying to find explanations for that. But, you know, chemistry and all of that stuff, I had never been interested in school. And
Yeah.
here I'm like doing these formulas and playing with like caustic soda and wearing my lab gear and rubber gloves, and I look like a crazy lady. Um, but I study really hard. I want to know the most that I can about something. I want to know why things are the way they
Yes.
are. I've never been content with just doing something. If I follow a recipe, I want to know why we do it this way. Why do we
Right.
choose these ingredients? Why does it have to go in this order? All of the caveats and everything. So, I'm good at it. I was making soap that other people were not of a higher caliber than other people were making, and I didn't know that until I got more into um, selling to. I got my first wholesale accounts, and soon into spas, um, and it just kept growing from there.
Right. And did you do your own labeling, creating the logo and all of that type of stuff as well?
Yes, and this is another point of contention because of my inability to commit to anything. My first labels that people were like, "Hey, can you I need a gift basket for my wife for Valentine's Day." And at this point, I'd only been making soap for literally like 3 months.
Okay.
And these are the orders I was getting. So like, how much? Oh, here's $50. I was like, oh my God. All right. Um, so now I wasn't just handing off a soap to somebody. It was a gift. So I was like, it's got to have labels. So I took craft paper from a paper bag
Yeah.
and I made a potato. I carved potatoes and I made potato stamps with little stars and moons and things.
Yeah.
And I stamped the craft paper from the paper bag. And then I hand cut and I calligraphy wrote because I had taken not taken, but I had been into calligraphy in one of my many interests over the years. I calligraphy wrote all of the ingredients and I had to come up with a name because I can't. I just took on so much responsibility on behalf of this guy who was just trying to give his wife a Valentine's
Okay.
Day gift.
Yeah.
But I just really loved it. I loved the the designing of the labels and the potato stamping and the calligraphy. And I was like, well, it's not going to look official if it doesn't have a name. So I just went with a nickname that I that people had called me. You're a little wood sprite because I loved being in the woods.
Yeah.
And like I'll call it Wood Sprite.
Okay.
And it just kept taking off. So yeah, I loved that, and it was a lot like film. I could take the photos of my products. I could design the labels. I my labels have photos I've taken, and then I work them into the background on the labels, and then I hand cut them out. I print them on a laser printer. That was pretty fancy back in the day.
Yeah.
Now it's not so much, but um, and this the whole thing is gone over almost 26 years now. And I really should have at some point upgraded to getting professional labels printed. But I had a problem where I just was like, but I like to change my labels.
Right.
I like to redesign things all the time.
Yeah.
And that would be a very, very expensive prospect. So for years, I have gone through so many packaging design changes, but I can't. By the time I get something really worked out, I'm sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
You do that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. After a while, you want to rebrand it. You want to just restructure the way that it looks. Um, and after usually about 10 years in, usually a company will look at rebranding, refreshing what the logo looks like. One of the things that though you've had consistently, you've stuck with the same logo for quite a while. The
Finally. But
Yeah,
I've been playing with I play with it all the time and
sure.
I've just have I because I had this other one for so long. Um I'm trying to change it, but I'm afraid.
Well, yeah, that's always that's every brand's fear is if we change it, is it still going to be recognizable? It's
Right.
still going to know that it's mine. Um, and that that everybody has that issue.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things that I've always found fascinating about what you do and what you have done for as long as I've known you is your ability to do all of these things on your own. Um, to make the product, to make the logo, to come up with the branding, the story of the brand. You do the photography. You are literally like an actual wood sprite. You have the magic in you to
Oh,
be able to, play throughout the woods of your industry and, just wave your little wand and do everything. Um, and I've always found that intriguing because I'm like that similarly, in that most of the stuff that I'm creating, I want to be hands on with it.
mm-hmm.
There's there's something special about working with three dimensional products, things that are tactile, and actually putting your hands on them
Yeah,
versus having somebody else make those for you. Um,
totally.
there's uh, a a sensory thing that takes place within us as creatives that it brings more joy to us
Yes.
because literally it is made from our hand. So I look at it from the perspective that the energy that we have flowing through us ends up infusing itself in the product,
You
which
know that
then
I believe in that. Yep.
exactly that's why I'm saying it. It allows that again to be more organically friendly and somebody being receptive to it because of that energy that's already infused into it because
Yeah.
you're making it.
It's made with love. It's made with
Exactly.
intention, you know.
Exactly.
I always had a rule
Um,
in when I had people working for me, if you're making product, you're not allowed to be in a bad mood
yeah.
because I don't want that energy going into the products. And it might sound woo-woo, but I feel that way.
Yeah. And at this point, people still use the woo woo terminology, but I think it's getting a little bit more mainstream that things are done naturally and there's an understanding of energy affects things and
Hmm.
energy affects people, especially people like you and I who are very much more sensitive to things that are around us.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's part of the beauty of what you do. Um, you had a certain point, uh, I want to say probably the first 5, 6 years, we had opportunities to go out to California with your product. Is that about
Oh,
right?
it was yeah, well I did go out there. That was a that was a trip too. A trip and a trip. Yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So,
Good thing that I haven't.
yeah, I guess uh yeah. So I had an opportunity to go out to the what was it, 2006 maybe? I think it was 2006. The Emmy Awards. One
Yeah,
of their At that time, they used to do these like showcases, product showcases, boutique type things. It's like a party and a shopping and everything all at once for celebrities.
yeah,
And then at that time, it was a big deal um, because then they would have photographers on hand and you could introduce your products to celebrities and they would in turn, for in exchange for, receiving them, would stand and pose for the, photographers, professionally hired photographers on hand with the products.
yeah,
So this seemed like a big break opportunity. It was,
yeah.
you have to pay to play. So
Right.
it was a big deal. And I probably should have spent my money doing something else, like, I don't know, landing on any kind of iteration of packaging and having that professionally printed. But no, I'm going to go out to LA instead. So we did it, and I partnered with the my biggest spa client at the time, and they went in on it with me,
Okay.
and they sent out two of their massage therapists who knew my products, and we made a spa for the celebrities at this thing, which was a little different. And we went out to Hollywood Hills. It's the nice part of Hollywood. Apparently, there's like a little seedier, older part of Hollywood. This was the Hollywood Hills where all the mansions and everything were, like where big celebrities live. And it was like a secret location, and we weren't given the address until the day of, like an hour before. And
Yeah.
we went, and we were in this enormous mansion. I mean, it looked like more like a museum than a house. It was just
Right.
crazy. And we were set up in a room, and one of my good friends, a film production friend, the same one of my shooter, she was my director of photography who went out to Montana with me. Kimmy,
Okay.
hi Kimmy. And I I asked her to go because I was like, I need a production person because I'm going to be around all these celebrities and I need somebody who's used to being around celebrities and stuff, actors and that kind of thing, who's not going to, be a, you know, fan out on them. I'm going to be able to be professional and level-headed. So we go out there and we get all set up, and that's why I chose Kim because she was a professional. And we get in there, and the first person who walks through the door is Allison Janney from The West Wing. And I go, "Oh my God, it's CJ from West Wing!" And yeah, totally lost it. And she was very kind and very, very generous and everything. And then the next group were like the cast of The Sopranos, and Kim lost it. She's like, "Oh my God, it's The Sopranos! She's my favorite!" So it was pretty funny that I was like, "We're gonna be all cool about this and stuff." But like Leonardo DiCaprio was there, and all like big people. The Grey's Anatomy was brand new, and they were all out there, and just it was pretty crazy trip, and
Yeah.
um, really fun. And it didn't wind up amounting to much. I still have a few clients from them
Okay.
from that time, but nothing. It was never like the celebrity endorsement that
Right.
you hope it might turn into. Um, and they don't do those anymore apparently because uh, the celebrities had to start paying taxes on the goods. So
Yeah.
now they get swag bags. They changed that.
Yes.
But it was a really fun experience and a lot like going and shooting the film. Maybe it didn't amount to what I thought it was going to, what I hoped when I set out to do it,
Right.
but it was an amazing experience, and and I'm glad I did it. Probably should have spent that money doing something else more
But
level-headed.
but that's the thing with those opportunities. It's always a situation of uh, the possibility. It can go either way. It can go in the direction of it could explode you as a brand and give you all kinds of recognition, or it can be, what it was. Just a few still hanger-ons that trickled and stayed in the pipeline of your products. But again, it's an experience,
Yep.
something that you had an experience of. Again, I'm knowing the story as it's been told today. I'm looking back at getting the opportunity to meet Patrick Swayze. Like it was just a scenario of okay, he's got horses, you guys are doing horses, you just meet, have this experience, and it's right before his biggest film,
Yeah.
one of his biggest films of his career comes out, and it's just those things of opportunities. I mean, the a few of the people that I've met and known over the years who are gone on to be big names in the music industry. Um, and at this point, I don't even think of them as the big names that they have been. I still know them by their first name, so it's that's just who they are still to me. It's not. I don't get starstruck over that. It's just, hey, I knew you when, and I still know you, and that's how I just look at them. Um, so it's just an opportunity. But as creatives, we take those opportunities not always with the mindset of this is going to make me the money, or I should spend the money in this way, or I should not do it and spend it over here. Those kind of, you always take opportunities like that just because of the potential. There's always the potential. There's always that little bit of magic that could flow in and it, explode like Tinkerbell always does in front of the Disney castle. Um, but it's part of the process, part of the journey, right? It gives you something to look back on. It gives you something also to look forward to because there's other things that have come around with your business as it's grown over the years. And you had some other opportunities that were fairly potentially big when you had some retailers that were starting to come to you and look at what you were doing and were interested in your product.
Yeah.
Um, what was one of the bigger ones that came to knock on your door?
Um, well, early on, actually I had Whole Foods
Yeah,
really early on. And I realized that I wouldn't be able to make products that um, I could not scale up and maintain the ingredients and the purity that I wanted to make.
right,
And I would have had to compromise in order to make on a larger scale or farm it out to like a commercial, like how like some foods are made in a commercial kitchen. It may have started as a, a, a homemade brand, but then they have to do it in a commercial kitchen, and then that's done by other people who have that whole operation. And it
right.
and like you were talking about earlier, there's something about making it with my own hands, and also I didn't want my name associated with anything. I mean, the whole point of me making the products was to make something that wasn't available.
Right.
Because I had skin problems and problems with or sensitivity to synthetics, and I knew from then making the soaps and people buying them from me that other people had them too. And so then it's such a cliche um, that the moment that you get some recognition and you want to scale up, then they want you to turn your product into what's already out there. And
Yeah.
one of those shows that I don't remember the name of it. It's kind of like that restaurant rescue guy. There was a show on for a while with a guy. I don't remember his name, Limon something, and
Marcus Lemonis.
that guy, that guy.
Yeah,
So it used to.
I did one of his shows.
You did
Yes, I was on The Prophet.
The Prophet. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, wait! I can't believe we didn't talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that show, nothing against the guy, because I mean, he's a businessman.
Yes.
And if you're in it to make money, then that's business.
Yep.
But if you're a creative, that's the art and the essence, the expression is the first thing.
Yeah.
And what he would do repeatedly, it was formulaic. There's a candle company and they make really cool stuff and everything, but they're having problems with scalability. It's burgeoning and they can't keep up. So he would come in and immediately farm it out.
Yep.
He did it with a skincare company too. And same thing, take it to a commercial lab to
Yep.
have them process the products and everything. So they're going to use a common base. Okay, and now you're just adding a little extract of this and you're adding a little scent of that. But they're giving you a palette from which to choose. You know, it's no longer your own creation. It's no longer the thing that you sweat over and tested and endlessly tweaked and perfected over
Right.
time
Yeah.
to make something different. And that whole train was is just it's frustrating to me because it's overlooking the point of the product. If it's an artisan product, and so, but yeah, and I mean, it's a weird thing because if you're in the business of business, the natural thing is to do whatever it takes to make the most money. But if
Right.
you're in a business, if you're an art or an artist or an artisan, a craftsman, uh, a maker who winds up with a business by accident, like
Yep.
so many of us do,
Yep.
then there's a tension point where you have to make a choice, and that's either you have to compromise something.
Yeah.
It's very hard to scale up and make things the same way you always did.
Right.
So that opportunity did come my way a couple of times, and I just was like, no, I can't. And now, I mean, like, I'd really like the money. It would be nice, but I can't live with myself. And
Right.
that that's more
That's the sticking
important.
point. Yeah. And that's okay. That's okay. The the integrity that you have to hold for yourself, uh, for your soul, your heart, but also for your product as well. You just are unwilling to compromise to that level, um, to potentially make more money faster. But you're content with being that full time creative who's just continuously working day in and day out to do what you love, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's the beauty of it as well. That's kind of why I was so adamant about having you on, is because it, I've I've known you since 97, 98. Was that when you and Chris were doing
Oh,
Myers?
earlier than that. Earlier, 91?
90. Okay.
91.
Yeah. So, that's 25, 35, almost 40 years potentially.
God.
So, I mean, it it's definitely uh, it's a thing that creatives need to see, that there are other creatives that are being creative daily, and you do multiple things creatively to further your business. One of the things that I talk about with this podcast is people who are in a creative field and they're doing that day in, day out, but at a certain point it becomes drudgery for them. It
Yeah,
just becomes soul stealing. And they feel that they don't have any options to pivot into any other things because that's the thing that they've just been good at for the longest time. It's been making them money consistently, but after a while it just starts draining, whether it's because of extra hours or it's just not creatively inspirational any longer. um,
totally.
but you as an example is something that any creative out there can look at your story and see that you have multiple tools in your kit to, if you had to at any point or time, you could shift back into photography, you could shift back into directing a video or a show or whatever. You may not like it or want to at this
Well,
point.
I think I'm kind of a dinosaur at this point,
Well, but
but yeah.
as much as you're willing to do the research of things, you could probably take a couple of days and research some of the new technologies that are out there that would just allow you to shift right into it.
Yeah.
That's my take, my
Yeah. No,
intuition.
I'm pretty tech proficient. Yeah, I'm able to adapt to that stuff, but yeah.
So, yeah, where I'm going with that is that there's always an opportunity to take your creativity and just pivot into another field that may be more joyful to you and allow you to explore and express a lot easier, a lot better, a lot less strenuously. Um, and that's the thing that I wanted uh, to have your story represent, as well as your resiliency as well, because I see that as a key attribute that you have. The resiliency to still continue on and continue doing what you do to this day, because it is not like, I mean, the doors haven't closed, the business is still open and operating.
Yeah.
So to do that through the ups and downs of the economies that we've had over the years, that in and of itself is trying. So the resiliency to stick with it and still stay true to your values and integrity of the product, that's huge. And it can be done. Not
Well, thank
everybody
you.
can see that. So yeah, I want that to be known because I know you don't give yourself that credit. And I'm one, whenever I'm around you, I always see the, uh, the valuable things that you have. And I always want to make those known to you because I know you don't always pat yourself on the back.
No, I don't. I don't. I really don't. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Of course.
No, there's been definitely a lot of ups and downs. Definitely, life changes as well as world changes and industry changes, technology changes. It's definitely challenging now trying to, I don't have that kind of um, organic growth opportunity anymore
Yeah.
because, first of all, this is when I started out, nobody else was doing it. And now
Right.
everybody and their mother makes soap of
Yeah.
some kind or another. It might be a melt and pour kit or something like that, but I mean, it's a lot more common these days, but it's so hard. Social media, and
Yeah.
that is such a slog. Just that part to me is actually what's exhausting and draining now.
Yeah.
Um, and that has changed completely, completely. And it's so funny how quickly that changed so much of our world
Yeah.
in really obvious ways and then in other ways. And trying to continually adapt to that is tiresome,
For sure.
but just trying to get your name out there and cut through all of that noise that's out there feels soul crushing.
Yeah. For sure. It is.
Yeah, the
It is.
algorithm. I'm, you know what? Fuck the algorithm. Gonna make a t-shirt that says that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you still do shows, craft shows every so
Oh
often?
no. No, nope, I haven't done a show. I don't even remember the last time. I had stopped doing those in the early 2000s. It's
Okay.
really hard on me. It's really hard on the products. Uh, and that it's a lot of carrying and wheeling in and out and
Right.
loading and unloading and setting up and then you know, it's dusty and people come up and you don't know what they've been doing. They pick up
Right.
your stuff and then they plop it in the wrong thing. Just I used to have people. I stopped showing my salt glows, which is a body scrub, but it's called a salt glow. Um, and they, you'd have the open containers on your table or whatever. And people would, I can't do it with my mug. They'd pick it up to smell it. Oil. I mean, it's like just salt and oil, open,
Yeah.
in a jar, and they go and dump it all over themselves or all over the table, and then they look at you like you did something to them.
Right.
I don't miss those days. And I don't, yeah, no, I don't do that anymore. And that is another thing. I don't think it's the same, in the 90s and the early 2000s, that was a big deal. Like art
Right.
shows were big, craft shows.
Yep.
I only ever did the juried ones, so they were higher quality. It wasn't they were you had to basically audition to get in, and they were very expensive, very high end. And
Yeah.
I don't miss those days at all. The early mornings, and then some of them are outdoors,
Right.
in Michigan
Yep.
in the August heat and the sweltering humidity, and that's not good for
No.
skincare products.
No. Yeah, I don't miss that stuff either. Doing clothing or doing festivals or any of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
It's the load in, the load out, the sitting there, the trying to deal with all the customers. It's for us creatives who are highly sensitive. That's the biggest drain of our energy
Oh
that
my
could
gosh.
possibly be there.
I used to come home from those and just fall face down wherever, whatever soft place, and just like, don't talk to me
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
next like 2 days, please. Yeah.
I need to
Incredibly,
recover.
yeah, incredibly draining. I mean, I still have customers from those days though, and I miss being able to talk to people. That was
Yeah,
nice. And and then they would follow me to around the shows, and they still order from me. I mean, I feel so honored, truly, that people have had the products that I made out of my strange head
yeah,
with my two little hobbit hands, that they have consistently bought them and used them as part of their daily lives. I mean, like, think about it. These are products when you get in the shower, you use it every single day.
right.
And I'm like, I'm really floored by that. That that people are still buying from me for 25 years, more than 25 years.
Yeah,
And there have been those times when I almost didn't make it, and we know that. I went through some rough times and just external forces, and um I at times didn't have it in me anymore, and I didn't think that there was a future for Wood Sprite, but those customers wouldn't let it go.
right.
There were enough people who hung in there that wouldn't stop ordering, even when I was ready to give up, when I was feeling so absolutely bottomed out
Right.
and didn't have anything left. There would be my dogs.
It's not
Okay,
coming
good.
through. It's
My
not
gosh, it sounds like the Hulk is trying to come through the door.
coming.
It just really they I felt so buoyed by them not giving up on me,
Right.
giving up on Wood Sprite. I'm like, I still want my soap, lady.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
they got me through. Um, so now, talking about pivoting and stuff, or I hate that word too. That was the whole COVID era word, right? Pivot.
No, well, for me, I always take it all the way back to basketball.
Oh yeah?
You got to pivot to make a basket if you've got a defender on you. So I don't even think of it in terms of anything else other than basketball first. And then I just relate that to business or
Okay.
opportunities. So yeah, I
Well,
don't, it's definitely not related to the pandemic for me. It's
okay.
farther back basketball terminology.
Well, me being 5'3", that is not an analogy that I share with you.
Right.
It's not a reference point for me. I just
More
remember
reference point for me and Chris.
watching you guys play
Exactly.
basketball
Me,
back in the
Chris, and
day.
Mike.
Yep.
And Dave.
Um, well, but well, of course, I go to the friends thing, pivot with Ross, but people were saying that during the pandemic, because people had to, adjust,
Yeah,
to adapt. We used to call it
sure.
adapting, and
Yes, exactly.
so uh, some of the things that I've thought about doing, um, I do miss photography. Like some of the things that I love to do, I have been able to pour all into Wood Sprite.
Yeah,
Photography, I take the product photos, the design aspect of coming up with um, the packaging and stuff, and then behind the scenes changing my packaging all the time, and no one ever sees it because by the time I get it done, I'm like, oh, I hate this. So then I start all over again. um, that's a constant flow of creativity and everything.
yeah,
And yes, the HTML on the website. doing the coding and all of that that I do, it can be tiring. And sometimes I would like to do something else. Sometimes I miss being able to make a product back in those art show days.
Yeah.
Just make like I think I'm going to try and make this. And and then I could see immediately at that show the response. And now it's like so many more steps involved to bring a product out. You can't really just test it like that and get that immediate response. You have to really think forward through the whole thing. And
Right.
especially when I'm selling to spas and boutiques and stuff, I have to think about, okay, how can I make this in this size batch? How can I sell it in a case of, however many at the wholesale unit? How can I package these so that they sit on a retail shelf and they look right? And how will the end user use this? Is it safe for them to use in their tub? Should it be in glass? Should it be in plastic?
Right.
Thinking about how it's going to be transported. How do I pack that in a box, and get it, you know, to California in
Right.
all kinds of weather and elevations
Yeah.
changes and stuff. So it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
It's like it becomes a whole thing. And sometimes I miss just making something and getting to see how it responds, or how people respond to it, I should say.
Right. Do you regularly send out mailing list emails and stuff?
Okay, so I had fallen way off of that
Okay.
because I personally, my inbox is just crammed full all the time. I'm always doing everything I can to mitigate emails and things. And I have to keep remembering that other people are not me.
Right.
And so I do have a mail list, and I've been trying to get better at doing that again. And I know a lot of people are moving back to that format of staying in touch with their customers
Yeah.
because the social media thing. And I
Right.
don't know if I don't know if other people are aware of this. Certainly creatives are, people who are having a business and trying to cut through all of this noise out there and the algorithm. But when we first, started our Facebook page or our Instagram as a business, um, people would follow you because they wanted to stay in touch, and it was great. It was
Yeah.
awesome. It was a
Yep.
lot like being at that art show where there's a person on the other side of your table or in your booth and you get to talk with them.
For sure.
And then it all became monetized by the gate. There's gatekeeping, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you got to pay to play now. So you have 1,000 followers, or you have 10,000 followers. Guess what? We're only going to show 1% of them your post. It's not going to
Yeah.
come up in their feed,
Yeah.
and they're going to forget about you unless you pay to boost. And it's that I find so infuriating and
Yeah.
frustrating.
For sure. I totally get it. The key thing for you that is always an asset, whether it was in 2001 or 2025 today, is the fact that you have their full name, you have a physical address, and you have an email. So most marketing from 20 2012 2013 shifted into, oh, just get as many emails as you possibly can, right? You've always had the benefit of having more information on each one of your individual clients that now, as the landscape is starting to shift again because of the algorithms, right?
Mm.
People are getting tired of that as well. Not just us as creators, people getting
People
tired.
are, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I
they're
can
getting
see it.
tired of that. So I there's an opportunity, and I'm already thinking of a few things that we can talk about at any point in time. But I have some ideas of where you could do something a little bit different, still reignite that re-engagement with your followers that are the true followers, and potentially do some of those one-off things that you just want to test and play with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's some new things that are out there in the marketplace that could allow you to do that and re-engage. And you may see it as, oh wow, can't believe that I haven't found this thing yet. Or it could be another one of those things where you're just like, nah. But you know, it's just, I think there's some opportunity that's coming around again, um, where we don't have to necessarily be constrained by those gatekeepers of the four major platforms of
Mm-hmm.
social connection. Because I know for sure from my perspective, some of the things that I've seen coming out of the pandemic is that people want to be engaged more on a
Yeah,
real level, versus having to do it always through a screen or an app or any of that type of stuff. So
for sure.
there is opportunity there, and you already have that mindset ingrained around that to begin with. So it wouldn't be a huge leap for you to look at a couple of different things that I just have in mind, especially even for your music. If we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of the discussion, right? Or you're
No, we
like,
totally fell off. We forgot about that part too.
oh, see, I don't. That's the beauty of these conversations. I'm tracking everything. Yeah, yeah. So with those things in mind, um, coming into the fall months, we had a discussion before we scheduled this that it was going to get pretty hectic for
Gonna
you,
get hairy. Yep.
as it does every year. Do you have anything special that is like your key and top sellers for the holiday season going into the fall?
Well, going into fall, coming up in September every year, coming up on this is the 16th year in a row, um, is the pumpkin chai. It's not
Okay.
pumpkin spice, it's pumpkin chai. Um, and that's a body care line that I do as a limited run. And so that launches September 1st, and that kind of kicks off every year the beginning the ratcheting up
Yeah.
toward holidays.
Yeah.
And so that's coming out, and then for when that's pretty much done on Halloween. I keep it around for a couple more weeks past that, but it's usually people are over it. And um, then I have what I call my hot chocolate, and that's a cocoa butter chocolate based product body care line. That's going to be tough this year though because of the rising costs
Yeah.
of everything.
Right.
They were already rising, and they had never recovered from the pandemic
Yeah.
era. Their supply chain issues are still have been continuously a thing.
Yeah.
And also we have um, a problem with, I mean, like we have changing climate. And when you're as close to that as I am, because I'm using natural products that
Yes.
are grown and they're farmed and they're grown agricultural based, you start to detect patterns. And there's just been year after year of problematic crops, and it's becoming more and more of an issue. So procuring ingredients is getting harder,
Okay.
and so I don't know what I'm going to do about the cocoa butter stuff because the price of cocoa butter has shot through the roof.
Right.
And chocolate,
Yeah.
cocoa, anything chocolate based. So we'll see what happens there. I'll still do it because I just have to. Been a favorite year after year. But that's another limited edition that I do for winter
Okay.
and that people tend to like. But I honestly, I'm sad because I've been so busy trying. honestly working on social media stuff and marketing, trying to get the word out there, and I cannot get past that invisible gate.
Wall. Okay.
Yeah. And so I am gonna start relying more on my newsletter and everything, but uh one of the things that I just refuse to do, and it's probably not good business, but I mean, like, there's such a push to have a funnel and hook people, and I feel like it's so shady and underhanded, trying to manipulate people
Yeah.
with clickbait or clickbaity even kinds of subject lines in the
Sure.
inbox. And speaking of that newsletter list, I've always taken it um I'm very careful with it. I don't want to spam people. I
Right.
don't want to exploit that connection that I have with them. And you're
For
not
sure.
allowed to, which, you shouldn't be allowed to anyway, but now
Yeah.
they have to opt in and double opt in and that kind of thing. But um I am trying to get back more in like into a rapport, a repartee with my customers and get more direct feedback and communications with them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do that with the newsletter.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to, I've been doing so much work. I haven't been able to work on some of the new things that I wanted to bring around. And
Yeah, for sure.
I just haven't been able to test them long enough until feel confident enough to release them. So I
Right.
don't really have anything new this year. And this has been a weird, tricky year so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have all of the information for Wood Sprite Organics in the description. So, anybody out there that's listening that wants to try the product, I can tell you from experience, it's fantastic. I've tried it before. Um, have a look, follow, subscribe, all those things
Yes, please.
to Wood Sprite, and you'll be able to connect with Jackie in the description when this comes out. But this was a fantastic conversation. It was fantastic learning a little bit more of your story, some of the things that I didn't know as long as we've known each other. Um, but I think it will be helpful for the creative community to see that there are options.
I hope so.
Even if you don't go to college, there's still options of things to do.
That's true. Do
You can,
technical school.
yeah, specialized schools, all that kind of stuff.
You can go to a technical school and then wind up doing something completely not at all that you went to school for.
Exactly. Exactly. So, with that, one of the things that I always like to remind the audience at the end of each episode is to listen to your heart, but also be kind to your mind.